Donald Duck in America on Parade. "Listen," said Donald Duck to his nephews. "The bands are playing. Here comes the big parade." "Yippee!" shouted Dewey Duck as the first floats rolled down Main Street at Walt Disney World. "There's Christopher Columbus and the Pilgrims," said Huey. "What a terrific turkey!" exclaimed Louie. "This is a super celebration." It was a super celebration, a celebration of America's 200th birthday. Donald and the boys saw George Washington and Betsy Ross and Benjamin Franklin and many other people who helped make our country great. "We saw the whole story of America," said Dewey after the parade was over. "And it was lots more fun than doing homework," Huey added, laughing. "That reminds me," said Donald Duck. "You haven't done your history lesson, Huey, and Dewey, and Louie. You have homework to do too." That night the three little ducks grumbled, sighed, and groaned a bit, but they did finally open their school books. Dewey and Louie soon finished what they had to do, but Huey was just too tired to keep his eyes on his history book. Soon he was sound asleep and dreaming. And what a dream it was! Just as they had watched America's birthday parade together that afternoon, now, in the dream, they were standing in a row on a sandy beach watching three ships come sailing in. "Those ships," Dewey pointed. "I know those ships. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria." "It's Columbus!" exclaimed Louie. "We're going to see Columbus discover America." Hardly were the words out of his mouth when the ships dropped anchor. Columbus and his brave crew lowered boats and rowed to shore. But wait, the boys saw that someone had been left behind on the Santa Maria. Huey peered through a spyglass that he borrowed from a friendly sailor. What did he see? There, swabbing the deck, was his Uncle Donald. "That's our cabin boy," exclaimed the sailor. "He forgot to put salt in the captain's porridge, so we won't let him help discover this new land." "That part isn't in our history book," said Louie. "It wasn't in the parade either." Suddenly Columbus and his men were gone. Now the boys found themselves in New England. They were helping the Pilgrims celebrate the first Thanksgiving Day. What could be nicer, Huey thought, than to share in the turkey and cranberries and corn on the cob and pumpkin pie? But one Pilgrim wasn't feasting. One Pilgrim, who looked very much like Donald Duck, was sitting in the stocks where folks who misbehaved were put as punishment. He was supposed to help with the harvest, the woman told the boys, but he ran off and hid in the woods instead. No turkey for him. "Oh dear," said Huey, and he blinked. At once the Pilgrims disappeared, and so did the turkey. Now the three little ducks were standing on a cobble street amid a crowd of ladies in silken gowns and gentlemen in powdered wigs and velvet coats. "I see Benjamin Franklin," said Dewey. "And Thomas Jefferson," exclaimed Louie. "What year is this?" wondered Huey. "It's 1776, said a young woman who was watching a band of soldiers march past. "Then it's our country's birthday year," chorused the boys. "What city are we in?" "Philadelphia, of course," said the young woman. "We have the Declaration of Independence now, and soon someone will ring the Liberty Bell." She was right. The boys heard the bell sound from the tower of Independence Hall. It rang softly at first, then louder. Then above the ringing of the bell, the boys heard a familiar voice quacking with terror. Who was it? It was Donald Duck, the bell ringer. He had been swept off his feet by the mighty bell and was bobbing wildly up and down at the end of the bell rope. Before the boys could get a ladder and rescue their uncle, the dream changed again. This time they were on a great prairie, and a train of covered wagons was rumbling by. "Wow," said Huey. "They're just like the ones in the parade." "Look there," Dewey pointed at a draggle-tailed figure running after the wagon train, shouting and waving. "There's Uncle Donald." "Hey, Mr. Wagon Master, you left Uncle Donald behind." "I sure did," said the wagon master. "That silly duck let the campfires go out twice last night. Can't hold up progress for the likes of him." Again the dream changed. Huey found himself with his brothers floating down the Mississippi on a raft. "I feel like Tom Sawyer," crowed Louie. "And I see a riverboat steaming around the bend." "Uh-oh," said Huey. "There's a keel boat, too, and Uncle Donald is right in the path of that steamboat." "Uncle Donald, watch out," Dewey shrieked. "Quiet," shouted Donald. "Can't you see I'm busy?" A second later the prow of the steamboat crunched into Donald's craft. Then Donald was busy indeed. He was swimming for dear life. Then in another second the river had vanished. Now the boys were in a little western town of long ago. They were being jostled by a noisy, excited crowd. "Here comes the Pony Express rider," said a bearded miner who stood near Louie. "He crossed the wilderness to bring mail to us." "Hooray!" shouted the people as a horse and rider galloped down the street. "It's Uncle Donald," said Huey, "and this time he's a hero, finally." Was Donald a hero? Perhaps. He had crossed miles of wilderness all alone at top speed. But he had also forgotten to put the mail pouch in his saddlebag. He hadn't brought anyone in town so much as a fancy picture postcard. What will Uncle Donald do next? Huey wondered. Then he found out. He and his brothers were in a school, a little old-fashioned school where the boys and girls used chalk and slates instead of pencils and paper. Donald Duck was standing in the corner of the schoolroom, and he had his face to the wall. "Why is he standing in the corner?" whispered Huey to one of the boys. "Because he doesn't know his history lesson," the boy answered. "Why doesn't he know it?" demanded Huey. "Even if he didn't study, he did see the Walt Disney World parade." Huey said this so loudly that he woke himself up. His brothers chuckled and he blinked and looked around. Their Uncle Donald was stretched out on the sofa, sleeping soundly, and he looked very, very tired. "Uncle Donald's even sleepier than you are," said Louie. "We'd better let him sleep," said Dewey. "And I'd better not dream any more," said Huey. "Uncle Donald looks as if he's been through enough history for one day."